Hey everybody, it's Sarah and welcome back to the Scrappery. Today I have another 8.5 by 11 process video. You can see that beautiful blue and white striped paper that I cut down to 8.5 by 11. That is from the kits. And then with just some white plain paper, I cut out these beautiful hibiscus flowers and some leaves. They were a free cut file from Paper Issues. And I'm gonna treat them with a little bit of white gesso. And then I also in my mixed media stash have a bag of makeup sponges for applying foundation, and I love using them to apply gesso to paper. So here I'm going to give them a nice healthy dose, and then as if by magic they are dry. And now I'm going to use some of my watercolors. They're mostly Prima watercolors. And then towards the end I'm also going to get out some of that gorgeous pink Kaiser Shine that we got in, oh boy, maybe about 2 or 3 kits ago. And it gives it such a beautiful, sparkly effect. I'm also going to color or paint the inside of them kind of yellow because there is a little bit of yellow in the collection. You can see how I kind of have that cheat card kind of in the upper right up there. I'm kind of trying to match the colors that I'm painting to that little cut apart card because I know that my colors are going to match them. I did go a little bit darker in the center, darker than kind of the pinks that are in the kits, but as you can see, because the gesso was white and it doesn't allow the color to really soak in all the way, you get a much more muted effect. So now here I'm going to dump a bunch of that beautiful Kaiser mist out and really give these hibiscus flowers a really generous painting with those. And then I do go in with my heat tool off camera and I do dry them thoroughly before I start my layout because these guys got pretty wet. Even though I did treat them with gesso going forward, I maybe should have treated the back with gesso because I used so much watercolor, it kind of soaked in underneath. But it worked in the end and they didn't crinkle up too much, but they did crinkle up a little bit, which almost adds to the more realistic looking flowery part of them. So here I am going with a little bit more of that fuchsia color in the middle, getting everything blended, and then I did add a little bit of orange to the bottom of the stem. So the stamen or whatever that part of the flower is called is going to get a little bit of yellow and then a little bit more orange in the middle there. And then this one is just going to be all of that beautiful reddish pink. And now I'm going to move on to that big palm leaf. And the middle of that guy is kind of going to be more of a lime. And then the outer will be more of almost an evergreen kind of a color. That is my tropical set there from Prima. And then the one on the right is the neutral set from Jane Davenport, I think. And then as you see, I got a little bit too much color on that guy and I am dabbing him off a little bit with a paper towel. And now I let the center part of that flower dry because that cut file was part leaf and part flower and I didn't want those to bleed. So one thing I have learned about watercolors is in order to layer, you have to let them dry. I hadn't quite figured that out until recently. So here I am just kind of laying them to the side once they're a little bit dry because I had quite a bunch of pools of watercolor and spray going on underneath. And now I'm going to let that guy dry, like the outside dry, before I go into the middle with that more lime color. And there I added a little bit more dark in the middle of him. And I'm going back to blend just a little bit because you want to make sure that everything is, you know, properly blended like it would be in nature. And now I think I'm probably dry, maybe. Nope, a little bit more of the pink. I've got to be almost dry there to get my lime in the middle there. There we go. Get a little bit of lime in the middle of that leaf just to give it 2 different tones and get it to look more realistic. And now I'm going to hit those leaves with a little bit of, I think it's maybe lime or citron colored Heidi Shine. I just wanted a little bit more shine on the leaves. And I love the look of those watercolored leaves with some Heidi Shine on them. So those guys are pretty much done. And now I'm going to hit these flowers with some Heidi Shine in pink. And it does turn out to be quite dark red. I was a little shocked at how dark red that splatted out. But then, because I've got gesso, you've got a lot of play time before it dries and soaks in, and you can, just using a fresh piece of your paper towel, soak up most of that, but it still leaves a really nice kind of droplet effect in a different color. So there we have it. I, off camera, just used my heat tool to get them all dried up. I printed out a 3x4 picture of my youngest daughter. We actually ran up to Stillwater and we went to what's called the St. Croix boom site, where it was the largest log processing river in the 1800s in the entire world. They had 10-mile log jam one time. It was a lot of interesting history, I guess, that went on up just a half an hour north of me that I had no idea about. And now they have a beautiful sand beach where the logging industry used to be, and obviously the trees have all been replanted. And she was in her Crocs at that point. You just can't see because she's in about to her ankles in the water there. I printed it out in black and white. And then I just used my Tombow Mono Aqua to glue kind of the middle parts of those flowers on. I did want the edges of the flowers to kind of curl up a little bit. And now I am using those beautiful thickers from the kit to spell out the word best. The T was giving me a little bit of business there. I had to stand up and make sure it looked right. And now I'm going to use the word the from the Oasis Puffy Words. And then I'm going to use the adventure sticker from the 6x12 sticker sheet. And I'm just going to use some pop dots to pop that up so it kind of sits on top. So the name of this 8.5x11 layout will be called The Best Adventure, and I'm just going to put the stamp on there of the date, because even though it was only 4 days before I made this, I couldn't remember the date. It was July 26th. And then, of course, my 2 didn't really work, so I grabbed a gel pen, my favorite trick, and filled in the 2. And then I used that beautiful gold foil butterfly. I popped him up on a pop dot. And I'm going to kind of dig through my kits and figure out what I want to use. Now, I loved these, I think you guys call them budgies. We call them parakeets or birds of paradise. No, I think budgies. And I'm going to cut him out of his cage because he looked too sad in his cage. And I do take that butterfly out, but I do end up putting him back in. So the budgie is back on the sticker sheet, but the budgie will come back. And then the only thing I grabbed from my stash are those round kind of sticky brads. I think I've got some from the Summer Chamel collection and some from the summery Dear Lizzie collection. I just wanted to add a little bit something extra and sparkly. And I'm just trying to figure out how to cover up. The budgie is sitting on, his pole that is in his cage, and I had to cover that up because it looked weird to have his feet sitting on a pole, but there was no pole there. So I covered that up with a couple of tiny word stickers from the tiny word sheet, and now I'm going to cut the other parakeet out, or budgie, from the other one, and I'm going to cover him up with also a tiny word sticker, this one that says celebrate each day. And I'm pretty happy with that so far. I'm going to add one more of those brads that don't actually go through the paper anymore, which I truly appreciate because I'm not really down with paper piercing. And I needed a little bit more yellow down in the bottom there, so I just grabbed that sticky or the puffy sticker bow because I like to use elements from everything on my layouts. And now I'm just going to add a few enamel dots and a few other things and grab some gold Heidi Shine, and that is going to pretty much do it. So you guys can listen to some wonderful music in a can, and I will see you all next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.